Welcome to this Timely Topics for School Leaders video on implementation teams. This video was produced by the statewide team for school improvement at the Lancaster-Lebanon IU13, a leading education service agency which works in concert with the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Reproduction of this video is not permitted without written consent by IU13. In this video, we'll cover 3 topics: why implementation matters, who should be on implementation teams, and what does an implementation team do? Before we start, let's connect it to something in our own lives. Imagine you've decided to build your dream home. You hire a general contractor because they have the vision and responsibility for the finished product. Together, you develop the blueprint and you decide what you want the house to look like, and you establish a timeline and determine the budget. And then construction begins. The general contractor doesn't pour the foundation in the morning, install the electrical wiring in the afternoon, and frame the walls the next day. Instead, they assemble an implementation team. Electricians bring expertise in electrical systems. Plumbers ensure that the water systems function correctly. HVAC specialists install heating and cooling, and inspectors monitor the quality throughout the process. Each person has a specific role, but they don't work independently. The general contractor coordinates the work and ensures that everyone understands the plan, solves problems as they arise, and keeps the project moving forward. They make adjustments when unexpected challenges occur. Without that coordinated team, even the best blueprint would remain just a piece of paper. School improvement works much the same way. Your school improvement plan is your blueprint. It describes where you're headed and the evidence-based strategies you'll use to get there. But writing the plan isn't what improves outcomes for students. Implementation does. And just like building a house, successful implementation requires the right people working together with clear roles, shared accountability, and regular coordination. That's the role of an implementation team, which is also the focus of this video. Let's dig into the importance of implementation teams. A great school improvement plan is only the beginning. The difference between schools that implement successfully and those that struggle is often the presence of a dedicated implementation team. School improvement is not a solo leadership effort, and it requires intentional coordination of team members who will move the plan forward. Research has shown that 80% of schools with implementation teams demonstrated effective implementation over a 3-year period. Only 14% of schools were successful without implementation teams. So implementation doesn't happen because a plan exists. It happens because people intentionally make it happen. Let's move on to learning about who is on an implementation team and what they do. This visual shows the overall team structures to consider for effective implementation. First, we have the steering committee. This is a larger team that includes a variety of stakeholders from students, families, and your community. They provide input on the overall direction and vision for the school plan, and they provide advice throughout the process. The school improvement team is a group of people who assess the needs, monitor the plan, and determine when adjustments are needed. They keep the steering committee informed of progress on the plan and on the outcomes. And then we've got the implementation teams. They are intended to focus on each of the priorities that are to be implemented. If an improvement plan has more than one priority, there will be more than one implementation team. This is an opportunity to engage a range of staff to develop collective ownership in the plan. And ideally, this team meets on a biweekly basis to review progress on the action steps and to determine what challenges need support from the school improvement team. An implementation team is a small group responsible for ensuring that an evidence-based strategy is implemented as intended. Their focus is not writing the plan. Their focus is helping the school to do the work. That work includes supporting action step implementation and monitoring that progress. This team also identifies barriers to implementation, and they determine solutions, or they know when to ask for support from the school improvement team. Within an implementation team, there's 2 types of roles: First is the implementation lead. This person is considered the lead of each priorities action plan. They're responsible for ensuring that the action steps are implemented. It doesn't mean they're doing all of the work. They're ensuring that the work gets done. School leaders are highly encouraged to not be the implementation lead because this is an opportunity to develop collective ownership and to distribute leadership opportunities. Implementation team members are the folks who are implementing the action steps. You need their representation on this team so they can provide firsthand feedback of what is getting done, how it's getting done, along with successes and challenges. When you decide who to include on implementation teams, there are a few factors to consider. Who has the authority, the skills and knowledge, the interpersonal connections or relationships, and access, maybe to data or information, to successfully execute each step of the plan? As you develop implementation teams, try to avoid including the same 2 to 3 people on each priority. Consider staff who aren't typically included in this type of work, but who match some of the criteria needed for the folks on the team. Include people who may not have been included in the planning process. Again, this develops more ownership of the work across your school. There are a few frequently asked questions. Some folks are concerned about developing a new team. You don't necessarily need to do that. Instead, assess the existing teams that you have. How might you shift some of their work to having oversight of some action steps of a particular plan? You may be wondering how many people need to be on each implementation team. Our recommendation is 5 to 7 individuals. Based on their level of expertise, they may join the team at different times, but this helps to spread the amount of responsibility and allows the work to continue even if one person isn't available. Now we want to talk about, what does an implementation team actually do? First, the implementation team keeps the work moving. They routinely review action steps and they monitor the progress. They use action steps to determine what happens next and to foresee some of the barriers that they may need to remove. This team maintains the momentum of the practice that's going to be implemented. Implementation is not compliance. Rather than doing the work alone, this team can also focus on building the capacity of others to be able to implement the selected strategy. They may provide professional learning, they could develop resources, and they can be ones to clarify the expectations for others. The team members monitor the implementation of the action steps. As they do that, they're going to ask themselves, did we do what we said we were going to do? Are people using this strategy? And what evidence tells us that implementation is really occurring? The implementation team will have an understanding of what is working and what is getting in the way. They can process barriers and develop suggestions to the school improvement team. This may lead to adjustments in the action steps. They may even notice that action steps are missing or there need to be more specific action steps, and then they can develop them some that are more discrete. Without a team, implementation depends on individual effort. With a team, implementation becomes a system. If your school improvement plan is your roadmap, your implementation team is the engine that keeps the journey moving forward. So a few next steps to consider. Talk to your school improvement facilitator or another individual that's supporting your planning process about the development of an implementation team. Also, begin considering who in your system would be a good fit for your implementation teams. And last, hop onto our website. Click on the Learning Modules area and then look for the Learning Modules for establishing implementation teams to actualize the plan, along with preparing for implementation and taking action. Thank you for watching this video. For additional information or questions about this content, please email the statewide team for school improvement at pdecsi at iu13.org.